What's up guys, Shimp here, and welcome back to another video on the channel. This is going to be my first draft related video on 2021, and we're just going to be talking about every selection made in the 2021 NFL Draft first round. Obviously, I'm not going to do all 200, what was there, 56, 257, 259. Alright, I'm not going to do all of that, but I'm going to be doing the first 32 picks. So, let's dive into it. I'm not going to be talking about the first one. The Jags did what they had to do. Trevor Lawrence was the right guy to take. I'm just not going to really talk about him much. The Jets took Zach Wilson at number 2. There was too much hype coming about Zach Wilson, in my opinion. I am not saying that I don't like Zach Wilson, and I'm not saying he was not worthy of the number 2 pick. The talent is there. It really is. The mobility is pretty good. It's evident. Undersized, and really only had one unbelievable year in BYU. So, all that dumb fad about Zach Wilson being better than Trevor Lawrence at college, I just don't think that's really true. I just don't. Now, the 49ers at 3 took Trey Lance. I don't know why they said no to Justin Fields. I genuinely don't. If you guys could tell me, that would be amazing. Trey Lance is a really high-risk player. You're taking a huge risk. You really are. You could get one of the best quarterbacks in this draft, or maybe even the best, or a really, really bad draft bust. Lance is a guy who has amazing throw power, but occasionally bad accuracy, and has really good mobility. I don't know if you can really depend on that to be your starting quarterback. I think Justin Fields would have just been better. Falcons taking Kyle Pitts, they should have taken a quarterback. Tight end, in my opinion, was a concern because Hayden Hurst did have an expiring contract. I don't know if Kyle Pitts was genuinely the move. Pitts, of course, though, everyone's calling him a generational type talent, which he kind of is, if you think about it. You've not seen a really good tight end prospect like Kyle Pitts come out of the draft before in a long time. I don't even know when someone came like Kyle Pitts. I just don't. I can't go back that far. The Bengals took Jamar Chase. This was a bad selection, in my opinion, not because Jamar Chase is a bad player. Penei Sewell was the move. Their O-line is so terrible. No excuses. Jonah Williams, left tackle. Unreliable because he always gets injured. I think Jackson Carman's in there. I don't even know if Trey Hopkins is still. That offensive line is just really, really bad. Dolphins, on the other hand, made an amazing selection, in my opinion, and took Jalen Waddle out of Alabama. In my opinion, electric and can catch the ball. Those are the two things that I need in a receiver. He has to be fast, and he can catch the ball. Occasionally, he can run really good routes. Waddle is all of that. He was the best receiver in the draft, in my opinion. It just made a ton of sense. You know, Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle would be an amazing combination. Yeah, Devonte Parker was there. He's really only had one good year, in my opinion. He's not that good, and I don't think he's worth a top, 15 pick that the Dolphins took on him? Maybe top 20. But I think Jalen Waddle is definitely going to be a stud in the NFL. No question about it. Penei Sewell went to the Lions at 7. This is a really interesting choice. Because, in my opinion, the Bengals and the Lions need to switch selections. The Bengals take Penei Sewell, and then the Lions take Jamar Chase. I think that makes a little bit more sense. I just think there's more logic applied to that rather than do what your quarterback wants and then take the best player available. Because Penei Sewell, don't get me wrong, definitely has the athleticism to play right tackle. But he was more of a blindside protector at Oregon, so I can't really say how good he's going to be at right tackle. I hope he's good, though. I think he should have definitely been a top 5 selection. He was really, really good at Oregon. The Panthers took J.C. Horn here. which is a really curious selection. First of all, if you're taking a corner, take Patrick Surtain. However, I wouldn't even have gone corner, even though it is a huge position of need. Only have Dante Jackson. I would have gone to offensive line or quarterback. You look at Rashawn Slater being available. Justin Fields is available. Worst case scenario, Mac Jones is available, and I'll get to him in a second. I don't really like Mac Jones, but take someone other than a corner. I don't think this is a bad pick necessarily. Horn is a good player, has good physicality in general. I just don't think this pick was that amazing. They just needed to take a different position. Oh, this was a shocking one. The Denver Broncos taking another corner is just unbelievable to me. Is Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, Bryce Callahan, and Michael Ojemudia not enough for you? And you're paying Kyle Fuller $9 million and Ronald Darby a 3-year, $30 million deal, and then you're going to add another approximately $6 to $7 million adding to pay to your corners? That just doesn't really make sense to me. Surtain should definitely have not gone to the Broncos, and this is what triggered the Cowboys to trade down and the Eagles to startle the entire draft world and trade up with the Cowboys, in division rival, to take Devonte Smith. And this was a really good pick. This really was. 1,800 yards. How many ever touchdowns he had? He won the Heisman Trophy for a reason. Okay? Devonte Smith has really reliable hands, can run routes, and is decently fast. The only reason he fell to number 10 overall was because of his size. And his size was a huge factor. I think he's like 6'1", 175. I think somewhere around that range. Devonte Smith, though, really good, ultra rare selection by the Philadelphia Eagles. This, though, was even better. Yes, the Bears had to give up a first-round pick next year to get this guy, but Fields falling out of the top 10 was just not really in any scenario, my opinion. In my mock drafts, which obviously weren't recorded, Justin Fields did not fall out of the top 10 once. Ever. And the Bears took him out of the top 10. That was crazy, according to me. Patriots fans would have definitely been very unhappy because they ended up with Mac Jones, but Jones isn't that bad, but they would have much preferred Fields, I'm pretty sure. The Cowboys traded down. Obviously, they were pretty sad that Surtain and Horn both went before them. 2 picks in a row before them. They saw 2 cornerbacks flash before their eyes. It must have hurt so bad. But Micah Parsons, also a really good player. I do think he's more of a high upside guy, however, which could make this a potentially bad selection. His potential is through the roof, and no one can argue. Parsons is really athletic, and he's a really big guy. He scares people. He can rush the passer. Sometimes, though, he gets a little bit confused and off task, off the field. I don't know if those were resolved or anything, but I'm pretty sure he had some off-the-field issues that I don't even know if that's true. I don't care. Micah Parsons is a good player. Slater at 13 was another really good selection. Actually, if you take a look at it, most of these picks in the first round, they were pretty good. I don't really have a lot to say negative about these picks. And Slater falling to 13 was the definite move for the Chargers. Who was it? Trey Pipkins III starting at their blind side? Funny name, yes, I know, Pipkins, but that's really bad. Slater is a guy who can play inside, center, guard, tackle. What else could you want from an offensive line prospect? He could have been a top 10 pick. And another thing where you just can't really argue with that. You just can't. Jets taking Elijah Vera Tucker. This was an interesting move because I did expect them to stick at 23 and take a corner. They moved up to get Vera Tucker. Their O-line is not very good. Alex Lewis, Connor McGovern. I think they signed Morgan Moses. AVT, I guess I can see why they're taking him. I think they should have definitely focused more on defense rather than offense, though. I'll tell you that. Now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. Mac Jones. I didn't like Mac Jones. This guy could be the next Tom Brady, but here are the flaws with Mac Jones. He doesn't have a great arm. He does not have elite speed at all, right? He played at Alabama, which is huge, you know. If you're playing at Alabama, you're going to win a national championship once or twice. You just are, right? What else? He played on Alabama, and then he played on Alabama, and he had the best receiving core in the league, and he played for Alabama, and he played for Alabama. Yes, I just repeated that like 7 times. That's the only flaw with Mac Jones. If he went to Alabama State or Alabama A&M and he played the way he did, he would be the #1 overall pick. Alabama is just a little bit concerning for me, just because you're playing with the best receiving core in the nation, probably the best running back last year in the nation, one of the best offensive lines in college football, and one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in college football, and the best head coach in college football. Is it really a surprise that he won the national championship? He should have not gone in the top 5, in the top 10, maybe not even in the top 15. I don't even think he was really first-round caliber. I just don't really like Mac Jones, is all. Zaven Collins, on the other hand, was a pick that I wasn't really expecting, but it got a lot of unnecessary hate, in my opinion. Collins is a good player. I don't know if he was worth taking at 16, though. That's all I will say. The Raiders took Alex Leatherwood. JOK, Jalen Phillips, Kwity Paye, Caleb Farley, Christian Darrisaw. Christian. He was a wide open. He was available. What were you doing? You look at all of the guys they could have taken. Even Azeez Ojulari. He wasn't that good of a fit. Owusu Koromoa is one of the best fits you could actually imagine for that defense. And they just passed on him twice, might I say. And they got Alex Leatherwood and Trayvon Merrick. Leatherwood, I just don't think was a first-round caliber player. He was just a really confusing guy. Was he a guard? Was he a tackle? Unlike Rashawn Slater, who is definitely versatile, we don't know where Leatherwood's going to play. And they wouldn't even needed Alex Leatherwood if they had traded away Trent Brown, Gabe Jackson, and Rodney Hudson. They just wouldn't be in that dumb situation. Dolphins took Jalen Phillips, keeping him local. This was just the best pick, in my opinion, that they could have taken. I mean, yeah, JOK was available. I think they just needed more of Phillips. They are playing him at outside linebacker, I think, which is just not the position he needs to be playing. But unless you consider his injuries as unbelievable and you just can't take him in the first round, Phillips is a first-round lock. He has unbelievable talent, former 5-star recruit, and he just sheds off blocks really easily. Jalen Phillips to the Dolphins made a lot of sense. Jamin Davis is another one like Zaven Collins, who I just didn't expect coming. I didn't expect the pick to be coming, but it wasn't really that bad of a pick, and it got a lot of unnecessary hate. The only problem with Davis is he's really raw. That's all I can really say about Davis. He's just not the most safe player you can take in 19. Kadarius Toney was the Giants' pick at number 20. I would have expected them more to go edge rusher or maybe even corner, considering that you don't really have a ton after James Bradbury. But I guess I can see where they're coming from. I think they have too many weapons. I don't know if Kadarius Toney comes in, Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, both two pretty decent players, could be a fourth receiver. Or Toney will be a fourth receiver, and he just wouldn't be the first round pick because he won't have the production. I don't really think the receiver was the ultimate move for the Giants, but Toney is a pretty good player. I can't really blame them. Colts, Kwity Paye, that was a decent pick. I'm not going to say much about it. I like Kwity Paye. He's an exciting player. Sack totals could have been higher, but quarterback pressure is definitely something that Paye is pretty good at. Caleb Farley, a potential top 10 pick if you were doing mock drafts in, like, I don't know, before January or even in January and February. This guy was considered to be either the first or the second best corner in the draft. And then back surgery happened. And then Caleb Farley just wasn't considered good anymore just because he was a really high risk player. That's all. That's all. But the Titans, they did do a decent job of rebuilding their secondary. Farley is just, I don't know if he's too much set to be a CB1, but I could see it happening. Darisaw at 23 was a steal. He was a definite steal. No one can tell me otherwise. Darisaw was a pretty good player. He was probably the best pure left tackle. If you look at Penei Sewell, could potentially be playing guard in some people's eyes. And of course, Rashawn Slater with his elite versatility. Vera Tucker played tackle at USC, but he's mainly a guard. Leatherwood, whatever. Darisaw is probably the most pure and good blind side protector in this draft. And the Vikings did a good job of trading down, acquiring 2 third-round picks, and still getting a great player. The Steelers taking Najee Harris was a bad pick. I'm going to be very straightforward with you. The Steelers just don't have that offensive line just yet. Najee Harris will not do good without an offensive line. You just have to understand that. I just don't think they were really prepared to take a running back. I think this is more of an offensive lineman spot for Landon Dickerson or maybe even Liam Eichenberg, but I wouldn't consider that wise. Tevin Jenkins is a guy who could be considered pretty versatile. Same thing with Jackson Carman, even though he's not that versatile. He's playing guard now for the Bengals. I think that was more what the Steelers had to do instead of Najee Harris, but I can't really hate on it. He was the best running back in the draft for me. He's a good player. Obviously, now I had to hate him because he's on the Steelers. It just wasn't the right pick at all. The Jags taking Travis Etienne, I can't really say much about it. It was not a bad pick. Did they forget about James Robinson? I know James Robinson has, like, what, 4.64 speed, maybe? 4.6 speed? And I know that's not fast enough. Etienne just wasn't the right pick. If you look at potentially Trayvon Merrick, or if you wanted to take a receiver, Elijah Moore, who I thought the Ravens should have drafted, but they didn't. I think the Jags could have definitely gone a different direction. Etienne, though, is a really exciting player, so I kind of get where the Jags GM's going. The Browns drafted Gregory Rousseau, who, if he didn't have injury concerns, would be the best corner in the draft. He can do everything that you want, fit in any scheme that you want. Newsome is the ultimate package. Just injuries have held him back. I think Newsome is going to be an amazing player. And the Browns taking him at 26 is a really, really, really good draft pick. The Ravens took Rashad Bateman. I think I've said maybe in a different video as well. Maybe not. Probably in the Jets rebuild, Madden 21, check that out. But Elijah Moore, I think, would have been the best player for the Ravens to draft, because then, he plays in the slot. Bateman is just going to be an X, potentially, right? Bateman has looked good in training camp. Moore's also looked good in training camp. And I think Moore was just more dynamic, more. But Bateman is not a bad player. If we get the 2019 Rashad Bateman, we are in luck. All right, I'm telling you that right now. The Saints took Peyton Turner. This pick was just not good. This is not the range where Peyton Turner should have gone, in my opinion, and a lot of guys' opinion as well. Turner is a decent player. Injury concerns are just high for him as well. The Saints should have not taken him, or if they wanted him that bad, trade down and get him. Acquire more draft capital. That's the main strategy here. Acquire more draft capital and still get the player you want. Eric Stokes was probably one of my more favorite corners in the draft. He's a good player. The Packers should have taken a receiver. All they're doing is instigating Aaron Rodgers more, but still saying he's their starting quarterback. The Packers are just doing terrible stuff to Aaron. Alright, they just are. But Stokes was a good pick. It really does help their secondary. I just think receiver is more crucial to help out Aaron Rodgers and his temper. That's all I'm saying. The Bills took Rousseau here, Gregory Rousseau. This was an interesting pick. I don't think he was a first-round caliber player. And another guy, if you were doing mock drafts before January, you would have seen Rousseau going in the top 5, maybe top 10. I phrased that wrong. It was actually the opposite. Top 10, maybe top 5. Rousseau is just really a raw prospect. He's a good athlete. I don't think he was necessarily the best pick at 30. The Ravens took Odafe Owe. We had 2 chances to draft Elijah Moore and Azeez Ojulari, and we drafted 2 of the opposite players in Bateman and Owe. Bateman is probably the less dynamic compared to Elijah Moore. Owe is more of the athlete, and Azeez Ojulari is just better technically. Owe has a ton of potential, but when I turn on the tape with him, I just don't really see too many pressures. And I know sack totals don't matter, but also having 0 sacks in a season and then proceeding to get drafted in the first round is concerning. That's all I'm going to say. And the Buccaneers capped it off with Joe Tryon. I can't really talk about this pick. I can't really tell you what they needed or don't because they have a pretty complete roster, in my opinion. But I think Tryon is a good pick. He could learn from the veterans, Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaquille Barrett. But we'll see how Tryon does. But that is going to do it for this video. I feel like I kind of sped through that, even though I have 23 minutes in this recording session. I hope you enjoyed this video of me just rambling on and on about the 2021 NFL Draft. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video.